Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 124. I'm Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs, where we talk about business tips and ideas for your business. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Chris Carruthers from the Remote Support Tech Team. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty good, Jeff. How are you today?
I am doing excellent. I'm just enjoying hanging out with you guys and talking about technical things.
Technical things. Perfect.
The proper terminology. And
right.
Also joining us today, we have Paco Lebron from ProdigyText.com. How you doing, Paco?
I'm doing good, Jeff. I'm doing good. Looking forward to this this next week because the weather will be changing for us in the Midwest. It'll be in the mid-60s, so looking forward to that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yes, I am too.
Cool. All right. Well, let me start off. We're going to start off talking about. Everybody knows we have a contest, and we are giving away D72 one-year subscription with DMZ standard access, and you can either get a single technician license or 2 to 5 technician license, depending on your needs. You also get DMZ standard level access that includes all video training resources, 1 hour of tech-to-tech support, phone or remote, and an included webinar seat in any training webinar of your choice. Nick is also throwing in a 15% off every year renewal to sweeten the deal. Here's how the contest works. Just send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com with the subject line D72 giveaway. In the body of the message, have your full name and contact email. You can also put in the name of your computer business. We will be doing the drawing on April 12th, 2015, which is a perfect date, but I'll explain that later. Anyways, yeah, I like mid-April. So we have definitely sign up for that, guys, and we have a lot of people who have signed up, so we've had a great turnout for the contest, and like I said, April 12th, we'll be doing a drawing live on the air.
Woo! I feel good about my chances.
So, anyways, Chris, or actually, Paco, we'll start in reverse order. Paco, what kind of things have you been working on in your business since we talked to you last?
We actually had started a infrastructure upgrade at this newly acquired customer, law firm in downtown Chicago. They basically were all on XP machines, and their server is on Windows Business Server 2003. So they all everything needs to be upgraded. So we actually just this week upgraded their machines to Windows 7 Pro, and then we're in the process of upgrading the server as well. So that's kind of been our project this week, and a couple of virus removals that were handled remotely, but it's been a good week.
Good. Sounds like you're staying busy, which is good in this field.
Yeah, we actually, which is pretty exciting, we actually got an inquiry call from a major news network to hire us as their IT consulting on an as-needed basis because their former IT, their main headquarters is out of state, and so they actually needed somebody local to serve 2 of their offices downtown. So we're actually in negotiations with them as well. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Excellent. That sounds really cool. All right, cool.
Sounds like a prepaid ticket to me.
I agree. Yep.
There we go. All right, and Chris, what kind of things have you been working on in your business?
A lot of remote support this week. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going with that. Isn't that what you do, like, full-time?
I think so. I'm never sure what we do here. There's virus removals. Finally got, well, I shouldn't be happy about this, but I finally got to do a removal for CryptoWall 3.0, which I don't know. Our process kind of killed it, so I
not a whole lot different than 1 and 2.
Not the removal, no. It encrypts a lot more stuff.
Okay.
So, and I mean, this client had 3 XP machines, and it was one of the XP machines that got hit. And unfortunately, that XP machine had lettered network drives to other machines. So there was a whole lot of figuring out which one was infected in the first place. But hey, that was the better part of an afternoon.
Oh, wow.
But the removal was the exact same as 2, at least for us. Maybe it's because of the process that we use, but the extent of the damage was a lot more severe. So that's something to keep in mind.
Now, what are you actually using to actually remove the infection itself? Anything in particular?
Well, I mean, we've started doing ADW and JRT scans along with our Hitman Pro and Malwarebytes.
Okay.
Just because it's catching some pups that the others aren't, and you know it doesn't take that much longer to run the extra scans.
Sure.
Other than that, though, it's just our standard virus removal practice has been just fine.
Okay.
You know, and we verified that it wasn't infected anymore. They bought GFI for the 7 computers.
Nice.
So you know, we're keeping it monitored, and yeah, it's wound up being a great sale, but I felt really bad for them because of course they didn't have any backups. So that's going to be round 2 of our discussions is how we should probably make sure that this bookkeeping firm that's holding financial data for who knows how many customers because they have 7 bookkeepers, you know, why that's not backed up. So that's going to be a fun conversation next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, even something like their database is not backed up, and they do bookkeeping for basically a living.
Well, the problem was that they did QuickBooks backups, which creates that QBB file.
Sure.
But they're all encrypted because the drive that they were being backed up to was just a network drive that had a letter on it. So.
But they weren't doing any offsite backups or any
offsite
external.
Backups,
no. Okay. Wow.
No, and really, 10 gigs is all they really need because all you have to do is back up the QuickBooks backup files, which are fairly small in comparison to the full database. Right?
Sure.
So, you know, if you put all of your QuickBooks backup files onto one place and then back up that folder, now you've got an offsite backup for everything on a cloud. So, you know, that's the discussion that we're going to wind up having. You know, I'm not going to say, you need to put this on all of the computers and here's how much space you need. No, you need 10 gigs. We'll set you up with 10 gigs that's going to back up all your QuickBooks stuff, and that's all that matters.
Right, because, you know, we go back to that old standard. What do they say? At 3-2-1, you know, 3 different types of backup, or three backups, 2 different sources, 2 different types, and then 1 offsite.
Yeah.
That's the 3-2-1 process. If you're not following a 3-2-1 process, you are not backed up. I'd
love to do a tape drive install. You know,
I actually got a funny story behind that because that's actually what we were trying to do at this place that we just took over for their infrastructure, and we actually moved them to a NAS drive because they were on the tape drive.
See, now the only problem with a tape drive, really, in my opinion, is when you put the orange tape in instead. That becomes an issue.
Well, you got to clean it every once in a while, though, right?
Yeah, but not during the backup, though.
Right.
Jeff. I miss tape drives. You know, that was the main backup at my main contract a few years ago, and it was one of the daily jobs. Is you took the tapes and you put the tapes in a case, and then you had security drive you to another building, and there was a fireproof safe that we put them all in. So you know, it was neat.
Well, and quite honestly, even in today's day and age, a lot of experts will tell you that tape drives are definitely still number one way to back things up. The problem is you enter the human error factor, and what ends up happening is these companies want secretary that's sitting at the desk. Hey, we need you to switch these tapes every day, instead of paying an IT person to come in, make sure the tapes are changed, check on the backup to make sure they're actually getting backed up to the tape, and that stuff is what's not happening. So.
Well, that depends on how much money you're willing to spend on your backup tape backup system.
Exactly.
As a very good example, again, this is going back to that same contract. We didn't go into the tape drive to pull out the tapes that the backup was done in. What there was a little door, and so you waited until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and you knew at 4 o'clock in the morning the backup was done. So you walked over into the room and you opened up the door, and all the tapes are right there for you. They're all bar-coded, so the robot just put the tapes where they needed to go. So that's all you need is a robot.
Okay.
See? And now no more human error.
Now who's checking on the robot, though?
Nobody's checking on the robot, Jeff. Skynet's got the robot now.
Okay.
It's fine.
Because the robot's only as smart as the person that programmed that robot.
Well, it's a good thing smarter people than me made it then, right?
Oh, very interesting. All right. So I guess we're going to go into some more subjects about Paco, what you're doing with your new business and stuff like that, and we'll handle that in a little bit. But let's get into some emails. All right. Email number 1. It says, "Hey Jeff and guys, thanks for making these cool shows. It's good to hear about other people's day-to-day jobs in the PC repair world. I have 2 questions. One is for Chris." How come one is always for Chris? I don't know. Anyway.
Do we really need to ask that question?
I wanted to know how you can charge for system quotes. I must do at least 5 a day from a cheap office build to gaming machines. Now, with so much competition, we would never think in a million years to charge for the quote. We would love to, and I think it's fantastic that you charge for this because it takes up loads of my time. But how do you manage to charge for this?
Oh, well, sorry, Jeff. What was it? I didn't catch his name.
This is from Dave. We're not done with his email, but this is from Dave.
Oh, we're not done with this. Okay, Dave. Dave, come closer. All right, listen. I don't care what the guy down the street's doing. I don't. Because my time is worth more. Now, his time might be worth just as much as mine. The guy down the street? Absolutely. Probably is. But if he's not willing to charge for that, that's not my problem. My problem is that I'm not going to work for free. Now, one thing to remember is that I don't charge for the quote. What I charge is a $40 plus tax deposit for anything coming in through our doors. I don't care if it's a cell phone. I don't care if it's a PlayStation. I don't care if it's a computer. $40 plus tax, you're going to pay that. Then we're going to figure everything out for you. Then we're going to provide you a quote. If you like our quote, if you want to go ahead with it, or if you want to do something else with us, that's fine. We're going to take that $40 plus tax and we're going to apply that to your bill. So we're not charging them for the quote. We're asking for a non-refundable deposit to make sure that my time's not being wasted. And if I wind up spending 2 hours putting together a quote for somebody and I only make $40 off of it, hey, I know that I'm worth more than $20 an hour, but that's fine. At least I'm getting something out of it. And if they do go with it, then I've made the sale and everything's worth it anyway. So how can I charge for it? Because I'm not charging for it. I'm asking them for a deposit, and if they go somewhere else, then that's what their decision is going to be.
I like that. Charging a deposit because you're expecting that they're bringing it to you because they want something done or they want something fixed. So why wouldn't they want to get it fixed? Even if you give them a quote that maybe is higher than what they think it should be, you know, I mean, some people should have an idea of what it's going to. I mean, when you go to fix your car, right? You're not going into a car shop and going, man, I know, you know what? I hear this knocking sound and I'm not sure what it is, and I hope it only costs me $100.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? And with things like custom-built computers, because that was brought up specifically, you know, you're going to turn around and you're going to give them a quote, but you're probably also going to have, you know, hidden underneath your quote a page that says, oh, and you can buy this computer outright for this much, which isn't going to be as good, but it's kind of along the same lines, right? So when they say, no, I don't want that custom-built computer, well, okay, you could buy this, and we can take your deposit and put it to this, right, or offer them an alternative. Work with the customer. Customers want you to work with them. And you're right, Jeff. If somebody wants you to do work for them, they're not going to have a problem putting down a deposit. I think I've been asked once, well, why are you charging a deposit? Well, for exactly the reason that I'm telling you guys, right? We're going to do this work for you. We're going to take the time to do this diagnostic, or we're going to take the time to put this quote together. And I have no problem taking that money and putting it towards your bill. But I can't work for free, so this is how we have to do it. You have to be a lot nicer than that to customers for some reason. You find your own way to put that in your own words.
You can't be as point blank. Well, yeah, you can.
I can, but no. You have to be a lot. You know, think customer service, right? When you're telling somebody like that, you know, just tell them this is how it is. But you just explain to them, you know, hey, we got to keep the lights on. We have to keep the door open. Right, and we don't want to have 20 systems on our bench. Then we spend, you know, an hour on each of these to figure out what's wrong with them for all of them to come back out the door. When 20 customers could have been in here that we were going to help, right? So most people understand that, and the people who don't understand that are the people who probably aren't going to pay your bill anyway, and you shouldn't be taking their computer.
Right, and I think I really like, we bring this up a lot, but I also like the Matt Rainey approach to this. If it's more than a yes or no answer, then he's charging a minimum of a half hour.
Yep.
And that's an hourly rate, a half hour of an hourly rate. So, I mean, whatever it is, 40 some odd dollars, he's going to charge if you ask a question and it takes more than a yes or no. And
Yep.
you guys really have to figure out if you feel that you're not worth that, and that's really what you're saying, is you feel you're not worth the effort. You want the business, you want to help people, you want to do the best that you can, but the reality is nobody really wants to work for free. If you told that same customer, listen, I'll look this up for you for free, but here's what I want you to do. When you go into work today, I want you to tell your boss that you're going to give him an hour's free work. That's what I want you to tell him. And what's a customer going to say? Well, I'm not going to do that. If I'm there, I'm getting paid. Yes, exactly. So it's really all about self-worth, and what you guys feel that you're doing is the right thing. Again, we're not out there taking advantage of customers. We're out there providing a service. But for some reason, a lot of times the service industry, not in all services, but especially this service, does not get. It seems like it gets taken advantage of to a certain extent. And I can tell you right now, the last time I had a guy come out and look at my furnace, it was minimum $100.
Yep.
Just to look at it. For him to come out and look at my furnace, it's $100. So, I already know that when I call him, he's going to charge me. But it's part of the service, and I understand that as a consumer. So, all right. Moving on from there.
Sorry, actually, I'm going to interrupt here because we had some chat activity on that discussion. So first, I'm going to bring up Techie Tutors, because this is a very good point. Once a client pays a deposit, they stop shopping for a tech, and that's absolutely true. If somebody's putting down a non-refundable deposit in your shop, they're not going to go to another shop. And frankly, if they do, they won't go until after they get the quote and they've decided that it's not worth the money. John asked would you apply that deposit to the repair? What if they buy a new PC from you? Would you apply to that? If they chose not to repair the computer because it wasn't economical, and they said, I want to buy a computer instead, what do you guys have? And we're going to order them a computer, absolutely, we're going to take that same deposit and put it towards the new computer because they're still shopping with us. We're using the deposit to deter people who aren't going to pay. So, and to keep money in-house for those who decide not to in the end. But if they're still going to shop here, absolutely they're going to get that deposit towards their new computer purchase. There's no reason not to.
Good points.
In my opinion, obviously it's your shop. Do what you want, but that's the way that we run it.
No, and I think that's more than fair. Go ahead, Paco.
Yeah, no, I agree, because, like, for example, we did this upgrade recently, and we asked for, instead of our regular $50 for diagnostics for repairs, for upgrades, we actually asked for half down. That initial deposit is just to make sure that they're serious enough about it and that we're not out the money right then and there. And then obviously we'll fork over the remaining half, and then once the whole thing is done, they got to pay the remaining half before they receive that PC. Like, for example, if they want us to tune it up, or they want us to remove the bloatware, add some programs, etc. But the moment they're ready to pick it up, they got to pay that remaining half deposit, and that's kind of to help us on the same time and not having that money floating around when they do purchase machines from us.
Very cool. Now, I will tell you, in talking about charging things, because I was just thinking about something that was brought into my shop this past week, and it was something I haven't had to deal with as of yet. It was a HP Split X2, basically one of those ultrabooks that you can basically pull the screen off, and the screen is basically the tablet portion of the computer, and it plugs into the lower portion with a full keyboard and all that kind of stuff. So it's a laptop / tablet hybrid. And, I'm looking at this thing when they brought it to me. At first, I just thought it was a laptop, and, they were like, the screen's cracked. Well, actually, the LCD screen itself is fine. What's cracked is the digitizer, the front glass. And so that has to be replaced. But, one of the things that they asked me was, for a fix like that, people will say, do I need to leave a deposit or whatever? And on something like that, when I have their property, I don't really charge a deposit on it. I just order the screen when I get it in. They come to pick it up. They pay the bill. I've never had a problem with that, and some people seem to appreciate that. So, but that just depends. If I have something of theirs, I feel fine in ordering whatever it is. They're always, whatever the part is, it's not going to usually be more than $100, and we'll just go from there. So.
Yeah. See, I used to do that same thing, but it's kind of the one where you can't just do for some and then not for others. Where if we used to do that and we took in a laptop before, probably $150 max, and this customer wanted to do a full-fledged repair and everything like that, never came back to get the computer. So we were pretty much out $150 because they wanted to go forward with this repair on this laptop that wasn't worth it, but still wanted to for, I guess, sentimental reasons. And instead of us selling them a new machine and transferring their data over, and we were out $150 because the total repair was $300. So that's when we started taking the deposits, or at least. We actually got this idea from Chris from a couple podcasts a couple months ago, where there's a way with our system to take a deposit, but it stays pending. We're not really charging them for the repair, and then once it's been completed, then the full charge will go through on their account. And that's what we started to do from there as well. There's a little bit more to that story, but that's kind of the cliff notes on that.
Gotcha. Now, yeah, I was going to say, if somebody ever has left their computer, and usually it's a laptop or whatever, you do a screen repair on it, what I normally do is I'll turn around and, after the 30-day period, I will go ahead and turn around and resell that product and at least make my money back on it. Usually I can make my money and the labor, not a problem. So
yeah.
It all depends. But, yeah, you definitely have to have something of value, and I think that's what we're saying is that, that deposit is something of value that somebody's not just going to come in and go, hey, I want this, but I'm not really willing to pay for it, but I just want to see what I can, what you can figure out for me.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously check your state laws on this before, making any decisions, but our terms are very, very specific. You're not getting your computer back until it's been paid for.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and I mean, if it sits here for, I mean, I've never had to do it, so I'd have to look, but I think it's like 1 month or 2 months. If it sits here for that long and you're not claiming it, we'll basically give you notice that we're selling your computer, and we'll refurbish it.
Right.
And then sell it for, however much we're out, right? And I'm not looking to make extra money on it. If they owe me $150 on this computer, I will sell it for $150 just to get it out of here so that we're paid.
Yep.
I mean, a perfect example, there's a laptop sitting here that needs a new motherboard. The laptop isn't even being made anymore. The warranty was expired in 2011. And they want this laptop fixed. Okay, well, we ordered the motherboard from China. It's on its way. But, this thing's going to take a week to get here. So you need to make your deposit, and they did. And if they don't pay up at the end, then we'll sell the laptop. That's just how it is. It's not to be mean to the customer. It's not anything like that. But we're running a business, and if they aren't willing to pay for the repair that we just put our labor and expenses into, then that's their loss.
Yep. And keying off of that too, like you said, I mean, it's taking up space on the bench, right? So what we do on our terms of what they have or what we have them sign is once we tell them it's available and we do a phone call and we follow up with an email in there, after the 2-week mark, we sent out a letter basically stating, hey, it's been here for 2 weeks. We charge a $50 storage fee. After the 2 weeks and it's 30 days, we sent them another letter along with a phone call and email stating, hey, it's been 30 days past. You signed this agreement. Here's a copy of the agreement. It's 30 days past. We're going to be able to resell the machine to recoup our costs. Normally, we keep it another week after that letter comes out because normally something happened or whatever. As long as we get a phone call within that time frame of the 30 days, we're pretty good about it. We'll kind of bend the rules a little bit. But if we hear nothing within 30 days, or really actually it's 35 days, we usually do. We just resell it, refurbish it, and send it on its way.
Yeah. 0C001. Had a question. How do you guys handle customers who come in with no PC and say, I just want to ask a quick question? We don't. If somebody has a quick question, then we're more than happy to set them up with a prepaid ticket so that they can ask their quick questions over the phone, and then we only charge them for the time that they're on the phone. So that, if that's what they want, that's consultation, right? So we don't, if it's Matt Rainey, right? It's not a yes or a no, it's a charge. And it's as simple as that. We're running a business, and we need to run this as a business. Giving out free support is something that's going to put you in the hole.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the other things is, John in the chat room was saying that basically talking about, not charging a diagnostic fee. And I will tell you that, full disclosure, I do a hybrid approach. I used to do 100% free diagnostic if you bring it to me. Now what I do is, because quite honestly, most problems that I see, I can usually find out what's going on with that computer within about 5 minutes. It really doesn't take that long. Okay, what's going on? We're going to check all the usual suspects and move on from there. But if I have to, nowadays, if I have to tear open a laptop and actually go inside, then I'm absolutely going to charge a diagnostic fee, especially if they don't want to fix it. And you know what? And I'll be honest with you, even before, when I wasn't charging a diagnostic fee for doing those types of computers, like tearing into a laptop, people would always ask, what do I owe you? So this is not uncommon.
No.
People know, and a lot of times I just wouldn't charge them, but that's my hard and fast rule now, is if I have to open up the laptop, other than just popping the hard drive or RAM out, something like that, if I actually have to tear it down, then yeah, you're getting a diagnostic charge at $40, because if you don't want it fixed, at least then I wasn't out my time for sitting there and tearing the laptop apart.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to, you really do have to run a full diagnostic on every computer. And I could sit here and probably go through my emails and pull out dozens of stories of, well, it was just supposed to be a virus removal. I mean, we've all seen that, right? Mm-hmm. Computer comes in, it's running slow, I've got pop-ups, oh, this has a virus, and then you find out that, well, yeah, it's got a virus, but the hard drive needs to be replaced too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right, so now, you wind up in a moral dilemma of, well, do I charge the customer for a virus removal? Because the computer's not going to be sped up. That hard drive needs to get replaced, right? What if they don't want to replace the hard drive? What if they had decided that they just would have gotten a new computer at that point? Well, now I've just wasted all that time doing this virus removal, and I can't really charge them for the virus removal because the computer's not fixed.
So Chris, what you're saying is you should check the hardware out first.
Absolutely. You always run the hardware diagnostic first, right? And that's where the whole flow happens here, is that the computer comes in, hey, I've got a virus, how much do you charge for a virus removal? Well, here's our price for a virus removal, but we need to check the computer out first, make sure there's nothing else wrong with it. So $40 plus tax. Here's the debit machine. Let's get you set up with that deposit. We're going to have our techs look over it, and then we'll call you with a quote.
Yep.
And that's it. So that way we're not committing to a virus removal that we're not going to wind up being able to charge for.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. No, the first thing I do, I actually, on most of your OEM computers, I actually cheat. When I log in the machine, I don't even go into the machine. I press F8 or F12 or whatever it is to get in the boot menu, and I just use their diagnostic tools and let it run. And if there's something bad, it will tell me. If there's nothing bad, then I've never had that had that fail on me yet. So,
Gotcha.
And then there's other things. Obviously, one of the proponents, and I do use this when I don't have an OEM machine, is use something like the Tech USB from Repair Tech. You can pop that in the machine, boot your machine up, boot right from the USB stick, and it's going to go through. There's a couple of diagnostic programs you can pick from. I just usually run the default. It shows me, again, if there's a problem with RAM, whatever, hard drive, any of that stuff, it's going to show. And so those are the two quickest ways to absolutely do that.
Yeah, I do the same similar thing. We actually use TechWaru or the Tech USB on there as well. We actually have the Instant House Call Uno Edition. So if we go ahead and do it remotely, we just use the TechWaru. We just zip it up, send it over, and we run that first. Run through their hardware preset just to make sure that everything's on the up and up before we even start that virus removal. Because, like you mentioned, if you go ahead and do that, you're at a point where it's just going to be, you do all that work and then you can't charge for it. And then I've had it where clients have told me, look, I understand that the hard drive is bad, but I still want the virus removal. well, your computer's going to die. So I can charge you the $129. I don't feel comfortable doing that, but if you do this, I won't be able to warranty the work, because not only will it, if as far as that point. So that's kind of where we're at right now, because there have been times when the moment that they've said, well, yeah, I still want the warranty, then you're going to have to go with the hard drive. If you don't go with the hard drive, unfortunately, we can't service your machine, because we're not going to be put in that. We can't be put in that position, unfortunately.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, and at that point, it's the customer's choice, right? And no, I agree with you. If the customer's going to make that choice, I mean, we'll do the work, but there's going to be a form to sign off on. Like, you're going to have to come in and sign this.
Well, and here's the thing too, and that's a perfect scenario, because what I was talking about was doing things on hand, and you guys, you went in deeper on that and said, hey, basically what we're talking about is if you do this remotely. I mean, it's kind of two different scenarios, because obviously you can't shut the computer off and hit the F8 and go in the diagnostic program, so you have to use some sort of tool to basically check out what's going on with the hardware inside the Windows system. I like to do it in a pre-boot format if I can. But if I can't, then yes, I would definitely will use some sort of Windows tool to, again, even when I start up some of my other programs, whether it be D7.2 or whatever, when I start it up, it does, Crystal Disk Info. That's the first thing that pops up before D7.2 even loads, and so it lets me know, hey, are we, green, yellow, or red? And if we're yellow or red, then we need to stop and go, oh, okay, let's image this drive and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be careful with that too, because things like TechUSB, which seems to be the consensus, we use that too. You can have the block by block tests being done outside of the operating system, so you do get a much better result out of something like that than you would say just Crystal Disk Info.
Absolutely.
So it's great, because Crystal Disk Info will basically tell you if you have a smart error or not, but I don't use that exclusively. Like, we run it through the full TechUSB suite for the hardware diagnostics first, just because I don't trust the operating system.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, from my standpoint, I've never had it where if it's warning me of something, all that is a pre-warning, and I go deeper into it than that. But usually, if there's an issue with the hard drive, what I'll see a lot of times is you won't see red. What you'll see is that there's a large amount of errors in it, so it's usually showing there's yellow. The hard drive might still be functioning properly, but that's when I pull that thing, image it, and then go in and check it out and do the deeper tests on it. Yep. Because you definitely don't want to sit there and even doing the block by block test. If something's screwed up with that hard drive, you absolutely need to get in it, and you probably should do a pre-image of it before you get started. But we're techs. We don't do that. We fly by the seat of our pants.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, we do that too. We run Crystal Disk first, and if it turns up yellow or red, it's an image right away. Before we mess with it anyway, just to make sure we can grab their data later on if they ever do decide to flip it off, or if they care about the data or whatever. The other piece of that too is the reason why we use TechUSB, because I haven't found it, and I'm sure the reason why is because is the memory for the RAM. Because obviously it's in use, you can't really, at least from what I've researched, you can't find a Windows environment program to detect any memory issues. So I use the TechUSB to run for the RAM to detect if there's any issues with the RAM, to see if that's an issue as well, for blue screens and things of that nature.
Yeah, and the other thing you can do is, and you could probably even do this remotely, the problem is you would have to have a little more interaction from your customer. You could actually do the memory scan from the Windows environment. What it'll do is it'll reboot the machine. It goes in and checks the RAM to make sure that everything's working right. What it'll do is, once it's done and it logs back in Windows, it'll leave a log right on the desktop. You can go take a look at that log and figure out, hey, is everything good? And you got to figure out if you're having, what types of problems you're having. Is the computer slow? Is it slow because of a virus, or is it slow because of hardware? And these are the different checks that you absolutely need to do. So, but yeah, there's many different ways to to get the job done. Many different tools out there. So, okay, so can we move on now?
No.
Have we thoroughly exhausted this subject? No, it's good topics, good.
You can't exhaust this subject.
I know.
But we probably should move on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Okay. All right. So second question from Dave Mason is.
We haven't even moved on from the email.
Not yet. We're not done. Okay.
Oh.
It says, what do you think of adding extra services to your business? For example, we offer a lot of web hosting and domain names, and this makes up a bit of extra cash each month. Do you guys offer this, or would you recommend this? And I'll be honest with you, as far as web hosting and domain names, I would rather stick a spoon in my eye than actually sell those services. So for me, no. It's not, but it's not my cup of tea. It's kind of like anytime we sell, things like antivirus, backup, stuff like that. I just feel like you're held a little more responsible. I know a lot of people make their money doing that type of stuff. I just don't want the headache of having, hey, my site's down, hey, and these are things that I can't handle on a regular basis 24/7. I just can't. And, a lot of people, depending on their business or whatever, if their website's down, man, they're freaking out. And they need it back up like now. And so that's one of the reasons I don't delve into that arena. But, as far as extra services, it's like we've talked about before. You can get in the mobile market, which, again, is one of those things I really don't handle too much just because I don't want to take a whole lot of time and learn that stuff. And I think the profit potential for tearing apart these tiny little devices is just not worth it in a lot of cases. Now, not to say there are people that are out there doing it that have got a process down. They've got it where, they can change an iPhone screen in, 5-10 minutes, boom, they're done. And there's profit in that, but it's one of those things that you have to learn that process. You've got to find out what company you can get the parts from, what are dependable parts, those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot involved, but what you have to look at is what kind of volume am I going to get, right? If you're going to get a decent volume of iPhone streaming in, iPhone repair is absolutely going to be something that's going to make you some money. I know some IT shops that started doing TV repair because they just had a lot of requests for it. So, I mean, TV repair, you're basically replacing a logic board in these smart TVs anymore, so it's no different than a big computer. Right, so there's a lot of things that you can get into. A lot of people are going to managed services, which I think is a logical step for anybody, even if you're just doing residential. Getting into online backup, again, very logical step. Reselling antivirus, again, right? So take a look at what your competencies are right now. Take a look at what your customers want, what's available in your area, and find yourself a niche. As soon you can continue expanding, you can have more than one thing going on, as long as you can keep your competencies running, make sure you're keeping yourself up to date on it, and hire additional staff if you need more staff.
Yep. And on that part, as far as like you were saying for the web hosting, I feel the same way. The only reason why I've gone with the web hosting is when I help a business or I'm moving them from their Yahoo Gmail that they're operating out of their business and moving them to Office 365 hosted exchange. So, they don't have a website, they don't have anything. So basically, we get them the hosting name, we get them the package and resell that information and help set all that up for them. On that part, we don't advertise. We help with reselling of hosting, but it's just one of those included in our onboarding cloud email setup and Office 365 setup. As far as the part of a lot of these ventures like TVs, mobile phones, things of that nature, sometimes the business owner is just not going to want to get into all that because of the time investment, or like you mentioned, the volume is probably not there, but they want to have it just in case, prepare for the opportunity. So because in case the opportunity comes up, you're not there sitting around and you're not prepared. So what we've done is we've focused on our partnerships. So and I've mentioned this in a couple other podcasts where for mobile cell phone repairs, like that is a big avenue a lot of people are requesting for, and I get calls all the time for it. Our business doesn't do that, and in our vision, we don't look to do mobile repair, but we have partnerships that we got a good deal, and it gives a good deal to our customer, and it adds in some good recurring revenue for us in that point. As we grow, well, that vision may change. We don't know, but we want to stick with some of the things that we're good at and we know that are going to provide us a good solid revenue versus kind of teetering off on where the craze is right now, and it may divvy out later on with whatever's the newest and greatest thing later on that part. Again, cloud backups, things of that nature for reselling that part as well. There's some good money into that, but what I really wanted to say is just, as you're adding services, make sure you're adding services that you're going to be able to keep up with as you would your primary service. Because if you start to divvy away from your primary service because you're focusing on these others, or you're not dedicating enough to it, they're probably not going to be successful for you.
Very good points. Very good. All right, and with that, I want to thank you, Dave. That was from Dave Mason. We appreciate the email and the questions, and I hope this is. It definitely has sparked a lot of talk here. So hope these have, helped you, and hope you can do something with that. What I want to do is I want to take a quick break for the sponsor of this show. And you guys, our show today is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro. Reclaim Me Pro is a specially tailored data recovery toolkit for data recovery technicians, both beginners and experts. It can recover data from multiple file systems, which is, I love this, coming from Windows, Linux, for all you Linux guys out there, and Mac OS. You can find lost partitions, which we've had people call in or send us emails about losing a partition, and it'll find that partition and be able to see the data right away. It'll save and load the save state. You can go back to that problem again. It recovers data from various RAIDs, which is really good, from RAID 0 to RAID 6. Pretty much covers your whole RAID spectrum there. If you've ever tried to rebuild a RAID by hand, yeah, from what I understand, it's one of those things you don't want to do. So this software will actually do that. It's also equipped with a highly configurable disk imager. It does sector by sector. It does VHD and VHDX. It reads most partitioning schemes from Microsoft LDM to Linux LVM. It has powerful RAID recovery and RAID analysis tools for complex RAID recovery. And it comes with comprehensive technical support. You can get a hold of these people and they will help you out. I've talked to Elena over there, and she has been great as far as the training and different things she's doing. They provide data recovery training. You can go over to Reclaim Me. Reclaim Me training is your key to understanding partitions, file systems, and RAID recovery, and it is free. So definitely check that out. And I want you to try the product free for 14 days over at reclaimme-pro.com. That's RECLAIME-PRO.com. And when you guys decide to purchase the software, use the offer code Podnutz for a 50% discount. I think this is one of the key things, guys, is we're getting into different things. How many times have somebody brought you a hard drive that just it won't mount, you can't get it to do anything? And from my own standpoint, I had a machine that I had pulled the hard drive out. I was able to get the data off, and shortly after getting the data off, that partition disappeared on me. I put it in my hard drive dock. I, loaded up Reclaim Me Pro, and boom, it started finding the data right away. So I was very, very impressed with the software, even though I don't know a whole lot about RAID recovery or about recovery in itself, other than the simple hunt and peck. But this software was pulling everything out, JPEGs and documents, and it was just showing right up in front of my face. So if you are getting into RAID recovery, definitely check them out. All right.
Awesome. Are we going to have a link for that?
Oh, yes. There will be a link in the show notes. You can get to all that. So,
good.
Okay. Now, what time are we? Okay, we're at 43 minutes. Okay. All right. So, let me go into our second email. No, this is great, guys. I have to tell you, I really love getting your emails. Continue to send emails with questions, things that you do in your business that, maybe we haven't thought about as we're talking about things. I love the interaction, and it's great. It literally puts a smile on my face when I read these emails. I'm like going, and some of them are so long that I'm just like, I can't believe that somebody would take that much time to actually put this much information in an email, and they would want to share it with me. So I feel blessed in that aspect. So I do appreciate it. Okay, so this is from Cindy. And this one's kind of long, but we're going to kind of cut it down a little bit. Okay, it says, "Hi, Jeff. I wanted to say thank you for hosting this informative show. I'm a mid-30s American expat lady currently living in the UK. I used to work in the video game industry in the US, but I can't work those long, crazy hours anymore. I can't work any long, crazy hours. I've always been interested in fiddling around with computers and thought it might be a new career path. Absolutely. I bought a CompTIA book about a month ago, Mike Myers' 8th edition, and I've been slowly reading through the 801 exam chapters. I'm not sure what my level of computer skills are, but my first experience with opening a computer was back in 1999 when I got my first HP computer. And that's very similar to me. I got my first Dell computer back then, and that's the first time I actually opened up a modern PC. The CD drive would spin and spin and get molten hot, but never actually work. After hours of calling HP multiple times, having them guide me through the opening of the case and checking all the connections, I got my first taste of messing around with my computer. If you're curious, she had to ship it back a bunch of times and finally figured out that it was a power supply problem. And she ended up, by the time somebody had helped her fix it, she basically sold it to somebody for half price. So, anyways, going on. So after all that, I have a question. After I take my CompTIA exams, I think I would be interested in specializing in data recovery in the future. What kind of test certifications would be good for this? I realize learning by doing is probably the best way, which I will, but to be honest, I feel it would be better as a female to have some sort of certifications to show people so that they have a bit more confidence in letting me work at their shop or work on their computer. And to this, I basically said, you know, if you are going to work for somebody else, absolutely get the certifications.
Yep.
If you're going to work for yourself, go ahead and take the exams in the certification. Not necessarily that you have to, get the information for the certifications so that you have that, and then just go on and start doing it. You know, a lot of times, do you need to have that certification to hang on your wall? I'm going to tell you, from both residential and business standpoint, they don't care. They literally don't care. It's nothing. You could have some fancy logo on your website. It means nothing to them. And I'm gonna, not to everybody, but to most people, it means nothing to them. So I say just go out there, get the information, and if you're already starting to take apart computers and stuff like that, your skill level is higher than a lot of people. So a lot of people will not even open the side of their computer. They're like, I'm not touching that. So that's pretty good. But anyways, as far as data recovery, I sent her some information for what Scott Moulton does over at myharddrivedied.com. Definitely check that out. He has a whole course that you can do right at your home. He'll send you the tools and stuff like that. It's a video series. Or if you're in a location where he's at, you can go check it out. And he does everything from tearing the hard drives down to changing the logic boards in the hard drives and getting them back and running again. This is what he does. And this is deep data recovery and for forensics. So, and definitely good for business. So yeah, and even as a female, I wouldn't worry about that. If you just start working on people's computers, and if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. That's really what it comes down to. So, I'm going to go on, but you guys have any comments on that question there?
I think that the first thing that you should do is check out this company that we just heard about for some data recovery training.
Yes. Absolutely. They have good data recovery training over there, and like I said, their recovery courses are free, and you can just sign in, check them out, and even check the software and stuff out. But do you need a certification? I don't know.
No, really what it's going to come down to is, do you want to be doing like the hardcore data recoveries where you're in a clean room opening up a drive and taking the spindles apart? Like that's to me is something that I will never touch, because I don't plan on going through the training or the certifications for it. I'd rather ship it to somebody about an hour away from here and have it shipped back when it's ready. But if you just want to do simple data recovery, which it doesn't sound like you do, but if that's all you're looking for, then yeah, software-related recovery is probably going to be the best way to go. This sounds like a great deal, so that's something I'm going to be taking a look into. But if that drive is clicking or not spinning or anything like that, I'm not touching it.
Well, and let me preface this, because a lot of people will say this, data recovery in a clean room, and I will tell you that clean rooms nowadays are this little 2 foot by 2 foot cubicle made of plexiglass with some things that pull dust and particles and stuff out of there. So it's not necessarily this whole room in your house that you have to turn into a humongous clean room to get these drives apart and to be able to repair them.
No, but I mean, you do need to specifically know what
Yes,
you're doing when you're
absolutely.
getting into something like that, and that's just that I'm sure that I could go through all that training and deal with all of that, but it's not part of our core competencies, and it's not something that we want to get into. We partnered with another company, and that's what we're doing.
No, that makes perfect sense. Paco?
Same here. The amount of investment to do something like that is a lot more than what we plan to do in the next several years. So we've done the same thing like Krista. We've partnered with someone that's actually in Madison, Wisconsin. So it's literally probably a couple hours away. So it helps us out better when we send it to them and back. It's a much faster turnaround time.
Yeah.
See, now I will tell you this. I just want to do it because it sounds fun. Whether I do it for a living
I agree.
or not,
It's super fun, especially if you listen to My Hard Drive Died. It's absolutely cool. Like, that's what got me into really looking at it. But as we started going down that rabbit hole, we seen what was the investment involved, and it's something that, for small, simple stuff, cool. Deep data recovery, we're shipping it out to a partner.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense. So yeah, so there's your two options there. Okay, so moving on from there, we have two last things. I did like how the CompTIA book had to have a section on how to not be a smelly, disheveled PC tech who looks and smells like they just woke up from the dumpster. She's like, really? Anyways, it gave me a chuckle, and I'm like going, as soon as I read that, I was laughing because I go, you'd be surprised.
It was written for Americans. No,
I hate to stereotype.
It sounds
but
horrible, but that stereotype isn't wrong.
I know.
How many times does that happen? I still remember there used to be a computer repair shop here in town. They're not in business anymore, but there were two people that ran that shop. There was the husband who was the tech, and he was in the back behind a closed door. And then there was the wife who wasn't a tech, and she's the one who worked the front desk. And that's the way it was. Never should the two meet, because that stereotype does exist. And there are some people that just cannot handle the customer service side of things. And part of customer service is getting your hair cut, doing whatever you're going to do with your facial hair, wearing deodorant, and showering on a regular basis. And those four things seem to be a challenge for some people. So I'm not surprised that's in the book.
Now, full disclosure, I did take a shower today, just so everybody knows.
Do you promise?
Okay, so moving on.
And next week on the show, we're going to have smell-o-vision, just so we can prove it.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Ready Player One, man. Anyways, some of you will get that reference. Okay, so anyways, she said, and lastly, no, she didn't learn her HP lesson with the HP that she bought in '99. She said, I've custom-built PCs, but recently, wait a minute, she's custom-built PCs. Well, your skill level has just raised way up. That's awesome. But recently bought an HP laptop for 200 pounds. Yes, because we still can't build a decent laptop ourselves. So unfortunately, they're all proprietary. She goes, worst mistake ever. I took off Windows 8 and put on 7, so I think I voided the warranty. So I'm stuck with a laptop who has the jumping cursor bug. Every couple of words, the cursor launches itself to a random part of the screen document and deletes, starts typing there, etc. Supposedly due to static buildup of your hands hovering over the built-in mouse. I bought a cheap mouse to use and thought I could disable the laptop touch mouse to solve the problem. The option to disable the touch mouse doesn't exist. I can, however, disable the USB mouse. That's real helpful. Ugh, I hate HP. So anyway, sorry for the lengthy message, but just wanted to say I enjoy your podcast. I listen to it at work, and as I walk home, I am learning tons of new stuff every episode. Take care, Cindy. Cindy, I want to thank you for that email there. She said the HP laptop also was a 255 G3 quad core. And now what I understand is I normally will tell my customers if they're using an external mouse and they're typing on their laptop keyboard is to shut the touch mouse off. And usually there's a hard button. And I've never seen one that doesn't have at least an F key turn off where you hit the
right.
You hit the little button at the bottom, and then you hit one of the F keys, the function key, and then hit one of the things at the top that turns that mouse off. If it absolutely does not have anything like that, which I still kind of find weird, the other thing you could try is like disabling the driver, turning the driver off, but you're going to run into other issues, I think, where it's going to pop up and say, I think every time you restart the computer, it's basically going to restart again. But usually it's not just from the static electricity, but a lot of people don't realize that they get really close to that touch mouse on a lot of these when they're typing on these keyboards, because obviously you're not going to hold your hands in the air.
So
you
question,
want to lay on something.
For that, so is she saying that that happened because she downgraded to Windows 7, or it's a hardware issue with that laptop?
I don't know, but I was
Okay.
going to say I don't. You haven't avoided the warranty
Right,
by
because
downgrading to Windows 7 either. I'm glad you brought that back up because yeah.
No, but what they won't do though is they won't provide you support until their operating system is put back on.
we're
Right.
right.
And here's what I would say. I would encourage you to put Windows 8 back on there anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I personally I don't have a problem with Windows 8. I like it. It's a great operating system. It runs believe it or not, from the kernel, it runs a ton better on computers than Windows 7 ever did. It's just the way it is. It runs smooth. I don't have any problems with it. I mean, let's face it. When you're logging into your computer anymore on a Windows 8 machine, you're going straight to the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
You're not losing any functionality. And as a matter of fact, instead of using, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll put in Classic Start, which I've had problems with, so I don't do that anymore for a lot of my customers because it breaks things like iTunes, believe it or not. Just breaks the shortcuts and different things. So what I do is I just teach them. I go, hey, see this little Windows key down on your keyboard? Yeah, you just hit that. Yeah, here's your big start menu that covers the whole screen. And guess what? Because you're older, you're able to see the icons better and you can click on them quicker. That's what I tell my
Yeah, no, I agree. I have both. I actually have Windows 7 on my ThinkPad, and I have Windows 8 on my custom machine. I think in that argument, I think a lot of people are using personal preference as a fact, where they're saying Windows 7 is better than Windows 8, and Windows 8 is, same thing with the arguments of Windows and Macs and the whole thing, if you don't go into the caveats of price. I mean, it's always been where technicians will say, yeah, that's a horrible brand. Well, it's a horrible brand because you say it's a horrible brand. It's not a horrible brand because you have no really stats to it, There hasn't been a big article that came out saying, hey, the Seagate factory, got flooded, so now all the Seagate hard drives are pretty bad for these X amount of shipments. And that's just an example of something that happened a couple years ago. On that point, I'm probably going to have to agree with you because I don't notice much of it. And if anything, it probably runs a lot smoother on Windows 8 than it does with Windows 7. But the Windows 10 technical preview, if anybody has messed with it, runs very well runs very good as well because I have it on a virtual box and I love the feel of it on getting the both of them, and you can still get your Windows 8 flavor if you're used to Windows 8 by expanding the start menu, or if you're used to Windows 7, you still got your taskbar. So it's a real compromise of both.
Yeah, Windows, and really I would agree with you that between Windows 7 and Windows 8 does run a lot smoother on the hardware that we're using. And we're at the point now where there's one computer here with Windows 7 on it because Windows 8 drivers don't exist for it. And all of the other computers that either I own personally or the company owns is running Windows 8, including the ones at home. And when Windows 10 comes out, those are all going to get upgraded.
Yep.
So, that's because it runs better than 8. As far as, just the same hardware with the separate operating system, it just does. So, there's, but you're going to wind up with the people that say, well, Windows 8 sucks. Okay, well, why? Well, because this, this start screen doesn't work. Well, no, it works fine. You just don't know how to use it. So here, let me sit you down for 5 minutes and I'll show you, and then you can make a decision on what you want to do. And yeah, I have the same thing as Jeff, although I've never told anybody that they're so old they need bigger icons. But I guess Jeff talks from experience. So,
yes,
that's what I'm saying. But showing somebody like, hey, look, pull this up and then start typing. Start typing where? Just do it. Just do it. Yeah. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So it's just it's an education thing. And if Windows 10 was drastically different from Windows 7, or Windows 8, then you'd have the same problem where it's this education thing. Microsoft did not do a good job making everything discoverable. Microsoft did not do a good job with making sure that people could understand easily how to use the system when they had never used that type of a system before. And I think that was the downfall of Windows 8, personally. It was too much of a change without enough education.
Yep. No, and then on that part too, there is a podcast on Podnutz from Jeff and Corey Fruitman giving some good talking points. So if there's a lot of technicians that want to start embracing that and trying to figure out how to explain that better to your customers, I can't recall that number, but kind of look back on the Podnutz podcast, and this is a really good podcast to get some good talking points to help your customers out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll have to put the link for that. I'm not sure. It was a while back, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right. So let's see. Tell you what, I think we've got a couple more emails. Yeah.
Come on, Jeff, you're holding up the show.
I know. All right, so let's go there. Let's go with another email here. All right.
Sure.
It says, hello. This is from Techie Tutors. This is it says, hello. Thanks for the show. My name is Michael. I use my middle name Aaron for my business. I've recently taken a big plunge and left my full-time gig to commit to what has been a side business thus far.
Awesome.
I've been watching your shows, and enjoy your content and perspective. Thanks again for what you do. I hope to watch live this week, which he's in the chat room. So watching. Actually, we have 8 viewers. That's awesome. Best regards, Michael, a.k.a. Aaron. Well, thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. That all the kudos there and everything. That's awesome that you've taken your business to full time. That's really cool. So, good job on that, and hopefully we can keep bringing you good perspectives to think about. And I will say this, guys, we don't know all the answers. That's not why we're here. Like I said, well, okay, let me preface that. Chris has all the answers, so he thinks.
That's right.
For myself, I don't have all the answers, but I love to learn, and I love to talk about these things, and I learn from other technicians all the time. I learn from the emails, the questions you're asking. It makes me think about things, how I do business, everything in business. So I'm constantly trying to improve my business. So this is kind of a journey, so to speak.
Right.
Week by week, and that's what we're all doing, and hopefully we're all at different spots where we can learn from each other. So that's why we do this.
Yeah, and I want to add on that too to Techie Tutors. If he hasn't already, I want to actually extend that invite out to him to contact Jeff on going on Podnutz Daily, because a lot of people are going to want to know, how did you prepare from that jump from going from your full-time and side business to going full-time on your business now. So I think that's going to be a lot of great information for a lot of us part-time techs, I being included, and getting into and jumping both feet forward and getting into that. So if you haven't reached out to him yet, I greatly encourage you, and I'm going to send that invite to you specifically, to reach out to Jeff, because I would love to hear your podcast with him on how you did that.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Paco, and by the way, I was just thinking about it. Paco is one of the greatest advertisers for me. And I don't pay him anything, so I definitely appreciate that.
Don't tell anybody that on air.
No, and it's to key off of that, and the reason why I love this network so much, and why you guys probably have seen me so many times, is because I love what this network has done. And I've said this on any of my other podcasts with them as well, and not just his. I've been on a couple of other on the Podnutz network, where before, because I've been doing this for about 15 years, or probably 16 now, that I've been doing computer repair. But it was a hobby. It wasn't until I found the Podnutz network, now it's going to be about a year. It has made me, of the 15 years that I've spent doing this versus the last year from listening to the Podnutz network, I've become a better technician because of this network, because of all the content and great information that is found through this. And basically that's what I do on a daily basis. I make sure to hear whatever Podnutz Daily and whatever podcast that comes out, and just see what new things I can acquire and develop that skill set. As long as you're willing to keep on that learning, that's how obviously you're going to keep going on with your business. So that's why I push it so hard on a lot of this, because I do owe them a big thanks on a lot of the stuff that we do.
Excellent. No, very good. Yep, and that is why we do it. We bring this information for you guys, and you guys are the ones that bring the information. If it was just me on here talking, it would get very boring. But we bring people on the show. We have Podnutz Daily, where you can basically talk about your business inside and out, the things that you do, because you might do things differently, and I always learn from people like that. I go, oh, maybe I can do something similar that will work in my business, because maybe I'm doing something that I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years, and there's a better way. There's always a better way, guys. There's always a better way. So I'll encourage you, like Paco said, keep learning, keep growing, keep moving on in your business. Don't ever get to the point where you go, you know what, I know enough to stay afloat, and here's where I'm at, and I'm good. And no, don't ever get complacent like that. I always want to be learning and making my business better. Because if not, what's the point? If it's just a way to produce an income, I can do that at a 9 to 5.
Well, no, exactly. What was the name of my last newsletter, Jeff?
Always be learning.
Always be learning. That's right. You should always be learning new things, and you should always be finding another expansion for your company or be working on the current expansion. The minute you stop moving and the moss starts growing over you, that's when your business isn't going to survive.
Yep, I agree. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the last email of the week. And I don't know if we're going to actually get to our subject today because we're over an hour. So I think we're going to answer this email because I love the feedback, so I want to bring this feedback to the show, and that's one of the reasons we do it. So, anyways, this is from Garth. It says, "Thanks for the awesome Repair Tech show." Thank you. I've been binge listening to the last 10 or so episodes. Very entertaining and informative for folks in our industry. I own a small computer shop, Emerald Technologies, that I started out of my house back in 1998 and have slowly baby stepped up to a storefront with 3 full-time employees. Congratulations. Ooh. We are located in a very small town in the far reaches of Northern California. I've got many questions, but we'll stick to one. I was listening to you guys talk about building custom desktops and was wondering what brand names you like to go with and for the hardware inside of them, any brand names you avoid or hate. We don't hate anything. No, I'm just kidding. In my shop, we try and stick with Asus and sometimes Gigabyte motherboards, Western Digital hard drives, Samsung SSDs, etc. Thanks again for the thought-provoking podcast. Cheers, Garth. Thank you for the email, Garth. We will attempt to answer the questions with what we use. Chris?
Well, as discussed before, I always have the answers. They're not always the right ones, but I have answers.
That's right. You always have something to say, you mean.
Generally. MSI is our favorite motherboard. MSI is also our favorite video card. Razer has been really good to us for RAM. Mind you, we're generally building performance machines. Western Digital for mechanical drives, Samsung for solid state. And Thermaltake for cases and power supplies.
Very good. All right, now what's Razer memory?
For the RAM?
Yeah.
It's a brand.
RAM. It's an actual brand?
Yeah.
I thought you said you were building performance machines.
They're red. What's wrong with you?
I've never heard of Razer before. Oh, seriously.
Go look them up on Newegg. The RAM has been performing really well. It's actually my rig has the G-Skill Razer G-Skill line.
Oh, G-Skill. Okay, I got it. So it's a model of the brand of the RAM.
Yeah.
G-Skill's the actual. Okay. I'm
sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. I said those backwards. You know what? It's been performing really well. I mean, we're doing the show right now, and while we're doing the show, this system is running a Ventrilo server and a Minecraft server because my wife, my daughter, and a couple of other people are playing Minecraft right now, and it's all being run from this system.
Nice.
So it's doing well.
Yeah, no lag or anything.
No.
Nice. Very cool. All right, so for me, I am a big Asus fan. I love the Asus products. I've had many Asus motherboards that have lasted me well over 6, 7, 10, years. Each and every one of them. I don't think I've ever had one that has actually died on me yet. I usually retire the computer long before that happens. But power supplies, I've been using the EVGA. The power supplies, the ones with the 10-year, I think it's the EVGA, ones with the 10-year warranty. But any high-end power supply, here's how I look at high-end power supplies. When you pick them up, if they're heavy, those are the ones I use. If you pick them up and they're light and there's nothing in there, yeah, those are just cheap. And if you just want to throw away power supply, those are fine. I used to replace those, for customers, but a lot of times I end up buying them a higher-end power supply. I don't put in cheap parts anymore.
Yeah.
I've had, again, I have a Thermaltake case. I've had a handful of them. I like the Corsair line cases. I have the Corsair cooler. I've got a couple of those on a couple machines. I love the Corsair, inline coolers. RAM, Corsair. You've got, OCZ doesn't make their stuff anymore, but I think I had the OCZ back in the day, and Crucial's always been a mainstay. I've never had a problem with Crucial RAM ordering for any computer. I don't really. I've used Patriot a couple times. I don't really recommend them at all. They were cheaper, but they always had problems in the systems that I was building. Hard drives, I use Western Digital blacks most of the time, and obviously the Samsung SSDs they're high right now. As far as laptop hard drives though, I've actually been going to the HGST, the Hitachi drives, and the reason for that is because pretty much here's the gist of the message. If you listen to Scott Moulton from myharddrivedied.com, he will tell you that all drives are garbage. It doesn't brand what it doesn't matter. They all spinning drives, all SSDs, they suck. They're all prone to the same amount of failure as the other ones. But what he did say was, even though Western Digital has bought out Hitachi, the HGST drives are still, from other articles and other server farms and stuff that are using them, they seem to be outlasting everyone else. And so what I've been doing is I've been buying their, kind of their, not high-end, but kind of mid-range. I've been getting a good deal, $60, $70 on a 750 gig HGST laptop drive, and I put them in a handful of machines, and they seem to work fine. But I've also put Western Digital blacks in there. And the other thing I do, as far as like laptops, is I don't put in 5400 RPM drives. I just don't. And a lot of people I know are going to say, well, that's to save on the power consumption, and I'll say to that, I don't care. I don't care about the power consumption, because here's the thing: your laptop batteries are junk after about a year and a half, tops 2 years, and most people keep their laptops plugged in all the time, so it really doesn't matter. I put in the high-end 7200 RPM hard drives, and they run fine. And you get for a spinning drive, you get a nice little performance boost from them that people can actually see when they're back in the operating system.
Well, yeah, but as far as people can see the performance jump from a solid state too.
Right. Okay, so let me preface it with saying I don't put in SSDs as an only drive. So if you have a laptop, I will not put in an SSD. And now for me I would, but I back my stuff up. For a customer I will not, because here's the thing: customers don't want to back up. So because of that, I don't want them all. A lot of times, most of the time, I can recover data from a spinning drive. If an SSD goes, you're pretty much done. So there are some recovery programs out there that you can get the information back, but I'm telling you right now, it almost seems like it's a 50-50 compared to the spinning drives, where almost 100% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, I can actually get the data back before it goes totally south.
Yeah, it's not fun trying to recover data off of a failed SSD.
And a lot of people don't realize this. So it's kind of the structure, the way the SSDs, they put files and stuff, because it's so fast and because of the chips and stuff. I don't understand all the intricacies of it, but they put stuff all over the place. So nothing is necessarily right next to each other. They're not in full form. So if you have part of the drive go, you've got partial files missing, and then you've got to be able to go back and recreate those. Where a lot of times you can usually get, you're going to have bad sectors going bad on a regular spinning drive, but it's a little less, you just have a better chance to recover. That's all I'm going to say with that. Right. So, and as far as video cards, I stick with the NVIDIA, Asus, MSI. I've looked at a few times. I've used Zotac, different things like that. They're okay. I mean, I still have them around. They're fine for.
If you're looking for a budget video card to throw into a computer to give it a little bit of a boost, Zotac is. We've used them before, but.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, like MSI with the GeForce setup that's been our favorite.
Yeah, I love the Asus. I stick with a lot. Asus and Corsair is the main build of my machine. With obviously throwing that outside there with the, I don't know why I needed a 1300 power supply, but because I did.
Because
I can.
Because that's what I'm putting into this computer.
So, anyways, Paco, go ahead. What type of stuff do you like or don't like?
Right now, I'm more of an Asus Corsair guy. My main machine has Asus board. The Sabertooth, when it was out 2 years ago. I had an Asus, I forgot what, P5NE SLI before that, and that thing lasted me at least 10 years before I even upgraded from Core 2 Duo. So yeah, that Corsair memory. Mechanical hard drives, I'm a Seagate fan. I will go to Western Digital sometimes, depending on what the deal is, but I've ran Seagates for quite some time. I haven't had any problems with them. I know they're, like, I used them in my example before. There was a period of time where they were really, really bad with what happened at one of their factories. So a lot of them were just failing out of nowhere. So I kind of deviated from them for a while, but I've been a Seagate fan. SSD, Samsung. For that part, and yeah, that's kind of how I run with my machine. I'm a big fan of PNY on their video cards. I like the GeForce on that part, and PNY on a lot of their stuff is actually pretty good. Some of their SSDs I think were really well. I installed a couple for a couple clients, and they love them. Haven't had any real issues with them as well. But yeah, more Asus, Corsair, PNY. The power supply I want to say it's a Corsair as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I'd have to double check, but it's I think it's like a 600 watt, 650, something like that. It's ran beautifully. And then the case I have is an AeroCool Strike X. And the funny part about that case was I actually got it because of my mouse, because I bought the Mad Catz the Rat 5. And I thought it was a really cool looking mouse, and I had this tower of a machine, which was, I think was at the time was like an NZXT. Oh, I love the NZXT cases. I had an NZXT M59, and I was like, I need something that matches with it. So I was at Fry's one day just walking by, and I seen the AeroCool Strike X Air case, and I was like, that's it. And it's such an unconventional case that it looks just like it matches the mouse perfectly. So
that's crazy that you bought a case to match your mouse.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Hey, Paco, I will say this. 2005 just called and they want their power supply back. That's almost
there you go.
I'm just kidding. No, quite honestly, 650, 750 gig for most, even high-end gaming computers is perfectly fine.
Well, see, I don't game as much as I used to, so that's why it runs fine for what I need for durability. Sure. But I just don't want to, 3 times my light bill because I like running my computer, with a 1300 watt. So
here's the difference, though. A lot of people don't, if you look at your power supplies and you look at, you'll see the 80 plus gold, 80 plus bronze, so on and so forth. Actually, what that's talking about is efficiency. So if you get a higher end power supply that's way more than what you need, it runs a lot less than your other one that has to work, 3 times as hard to do what it's doing. So there's kind of it's kind of a backwards thinking on that, but basically that's what that has to do with. So, but no, like I said, I still build machines where I'm putting 750 gig drives in Core i7 machines, and it's perfectly fine. Even if you're putting a high-end video card, a lot of times you don't, unless you're running SLI with multiple hard drives, then you really need to start to get up into 1,000 watt, 1,300, whatever, that type of thing. So, but yeah, for what most people do, even myself as a gamer, I could get away with I have multiple drives and different things, so I probably couldn't get away with a 750, but maybe 1,000 would be the next step. So, cool. In PNY, they gypped me on my rebate one time, and they didn't pay me. Yeah. So, ever since that, and that was like probably 8 years ago, and so I was buying some RAM, and they didn't pay me my my $5 rebate, and so I don't use them anymore.
Gotcha. No, and I take that because there's been a couple companies, same reason where I spoke with one of their representatives, and they gave me such a bull-faced lie out of nowhere to say that's the reason why their product is not working as it should, and I turned it off. Maybe a great product, but just because of that, nope, I'm gonna go to your competitor because I'm just not gonna deal with you. So.
And I'll tell you what, Corsair has been great. Logitech has been great as far as companies that take stuff back. I've had mice for 2+ years. I can call Logitech or a Corsair up. Hey, this is going on with the mouse. I didn't abuse it or break it or anything like. A button's not working.
Right.
All right. Hey, we'll send you another one. Throw the old one in the box, send it back, and boom, we're done. I've done that with headsets. My Corsair headsets. I had one crack after about a year and a half. They just up and replaced it. Yep, okay. No problem. So
same.
I love stuff like that. I love companies that will stand behind their product. Now, but I buy a lot of their products because of that, because they do stand behind them. So, but
Yep, Mad Catz is the same way. We do the same thing. I had a mouse that went out where you plugged it in, it would start working, and the laser of the mouse just went out, so it just would go all over. It would just stop wherever it was at.
Oh.
Contacted them. I think I had it for like a year and a half, something like that. Threw it in the box. They actually shipped me. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I shipped it out to them. Or no, I'm sorry. They shipped me the new one, put the old one up, and sent it back to them, and they sent me a brand new mouse. It wasn't refurbished or anything, so they stand behind a lot of their products too.
You guys must have a different Mad Catz in the States, because that's not how they work up here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mad Catz is like that off-brand that everybody hisses at.
Really?
Yeah. Like Gearhead?
Never heard of it.
It's popular in the micro centers.
Ah.
Yeah.
So I've had a couple of their stuff. They're fine. They're cheap, but they're basically they're throwaway mice and keyboards, but they work. While they're working, they work, and once they're done, you just throw them in the trash, and it's all good. I use in as far as keyboard and mouse, I've got the Corsair Gaming. My whole keyboard lights up in multiple different colors because it's just how I like to roll. But yeah.
Razor's good for. So you just get a Razer mouse, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Done.
I've had a Razer mouse, and it was fine. But I actually prefer the feel and the shape of the Corsair gaming mice now. So it's and a lot of that stuff really has to do with preference.
Yeah, the feel and the button placements, like there's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 buttons on this thing, right? If it's not in the right place, or if your hand's not quite the right shape or right size, it doesn't work well.
Well, and Chris, here's the thing. At my age, I'm good if I can use 3 buttons. So any more than that is just overkill for me.
It's a 3x4 grid. I mean, it's just right there where your thumb is anyway. What's
my keyboard, I'm looking at it right now, and I don't really remember why I even got it because I don't game anymore. I got a SteelSeries Merc keyboard, and it has in its entire palm, the left-hand palm, for any of the rotations and So I don't even have to deal with that if my hand is in the wrong place or whatever. And why I hate this keyboard so much is, in order for me to hit delete, I have to turn off the numlock, and I always keep the numlock on because I always use the numpad.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, great keyboard. Just that one thing, I just don't.
Just think of that as a safeguard.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't hit that with it.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've digressed, and we've talked about all the different products we love and some that we don't, and so hopefully that helps you out. I appreciate the email, and again, that was from Garth. So feel free to ask more questions, Garth. We are here every week. All right. So I think with that, we're getting kind of long in the show. So why don't you, Paco? Why don't you tell people where they can find you at and find out what you're up to?
Yep. You guys can reach me via email, paco@prodigytex.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter. You can get to me directly, Shytech CEO, CHITEK CEO, or our company Twitter handle is ProdigyTex, PRODIGYTEKS. So we'll be able to get to any one of those avenues and help you guys out if you have any questions.
Very cool. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you coming out on the show. All right, and Chris, why don't you tell people where they can find more out about what you're doing?
Sure. So we are a remote support tech team. We do white label services for IT companies. You can visit us on our website, www.rstechteam.com. You can call us, 866-568-2813, or you can send us an email to info@rstechteam.com.
Excellent. All right, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it again.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I want to let everybody know there is no show April 5th, which is next Sunday. I want you guys to take that time and enjoy time with your family. It is Easter Sunday, so we will not be having a live show that day. So go ahead and, enjoy time. And I will too, and I'll eat plenty of food, hopefully.
Nice.
We do Podnutz, the computer repair podcast, every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/live. We would love it if you guys would watch and join in on the conversation, like some people in the chat room have, by hanging out in the chat room or calling in live. We have on-demand audio and video always available after the fact over at podnutz.com and my YouTube channel, Podnutz Live Show for Computer Repair Techs. You guys can also find me on the Google Plus at Jeffery Halash or Twitter at TechNutPC. If you're a computer repair tech and would like to be a guest on Podnutz Daily, where you can talk about your business, email me at podnutzdaily@podnutz.com, and we'll get that set up. You guys can also email questions and feedback over to podnutz@podnutz.com. You guys can leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162, 24/7, 365 right there. So if you guys want to leave a voicemail, please do that. We will definitely play it on the show. And I want to thank our sponsor, Reclaim Me Pro, for this episode of Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. You guys can do us a favor also, leave us a rating and review over on iTunes. That would help more people know about us. You guys can also help support the Podnutz Network. Next time you're shopping on Amazon, go to podnutz.com/Amazon. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. And that's a wrap.
Hey.
But don't rap.
Fine.
All right. Cool. So there will be no show next week, but will be the week after. So we will be having a random drawing. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that. We'll be having a random drawing for D72, so that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, and everybody's going to have to do an entire week without our voices. I don't know how they're going to survive.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to survive because I actually enjoy coming out and sharing and just talking. So
yeah,
hopefully helping people out. And what will be interesting, too, is that will actually be one day after I've been podcasting for 1 full year.
Nice.
What?
So that'd be kind of my day after 1 year anniversary podcasting where I've recorded over 100 episodes.
So it's got to be an anniversary show.
Yeah, okay. I will mention it, but that's about it. So, yeah, anyways, but no, it's I can't believe it's been a year, to be honest with you. It's like one of those things, and I can't believe I've recorded over 100 episodes. I'm like,
yikes. Yeah, wow. That's up there.
So, but that'll be fun. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that, and we'll have that random drawing. So that'll be kind of cool. No show. Oh yeah.
Show riot.
So here's the other thing too is Chris, while I got you here, and Paco, feel free to chime in on this. Quite honestly, I think we're not going to be able to do a show also on Mother's Day. Thoughts?
Not that I want to say on the air.
Yes, we are still being recorded, so yes, if you don't want your significant other to hear what you have to say, just don't be honest right now. Oh, I'm just kidding. No, just kidding. No, seriously, what's your thought process?
I think that we should have a Mother's Day show, and I think that we should have Jeff have his mom come on. No. I don't know, because, I mean, Mother's Day is really important. I think that, our wives and mothers would appreciate it if we spent that time with them. But at the same time, if we're running a show, I'm sure that I will be participating.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is off the top of my head because I do like to, spend the day, with my wife and, kind of do what she wants to do, that type of thing. And it is kind of a family day. And Mother's Day is May 9th, or May 10th. Am I right? I think it's May 10th.
Yeah, you're right, May 10th.
So now I will be telling you this, though. On Father's Day, we will absolutely be having a show.
Right, because who cares about Jeff?
Yeah, I don't even care about Father's Day. You know what I say? You know what I say about Father? What do you want for Father's Day? I want you to leave me alone. That's what I want.
I want quiet.
I want my time. I want my peace and quiet.
Yep. I want to go podcast or play a game or do something. No. So Father's Day is not a huge deal to me. So but Mother's Day, I think we'll definitely be taking that off and then we'll definitely be taking Easter off. But, unless a holiday falls on a Sunday, which there's not a whole lot that does, I mean, we pretty much, even through all last year, we were having shows, around Christmas time and stuff like that. That wasn't an issue. So I think we'll keep doing that as long as it doesn't fall on the day we do the show, which is a Sunday, right?
Right.
So,
yep.
But
I agree.
Oh, Mason's saying it's March 15th here in the UK. I wonder why it's... That's like on a Friday, isn't it?
So?
They have Mother's Day on a Friday? Well, I'm...
They might have it on a specific day of the year rather
Oh, that
than
could
saying whatever Sunday on whatever month. Right?
Yeah, so Mother's Day is always on a Sunday. Obviously, Easter is always on a Sunday.
Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday.
Yeah, Thanksgiving
See,
is
that's the
always
thing
on a
is
Thursday. True.
that up here, Good Friday is the actual holiday, and Easter Sunday isn't.
Celebrate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Good Friday is a stat, and Easter Sunday is not.
Ah, very interesting. Okay. Is it 15th on a Sunday? Is
15th.
that May?
No. March 15th, he says.
Oh, March 15th. Okay.
Yeah, he said March 15th is Mother's Day. So that's...
okay. No, that makes sense.
That was on a Sunday.
That was on a Sunday. Okay. Sorry about that for my UK listeners, but
yeah, way to go, Jeff. Way to make an entire country angry.
Gotcha. March 15th. Okay, ours is May, and then June is Father's Day is on one of those Sundays. I don't know. Don't care. Whatever. I call my dad, and that's about the end of that. Yeah, I think other than that, we'll still be here week to week. And then I will tell you, if you guys are still watching this video, obviously this won't be in the audio portion, but yeah, definitely feel free to send in your questions, send in show topics, different things that you want to talk about.
Sure.
We're working on the phone system right now, so we'll have something here resolved within the next few weeks, I would imagine, and we'll go from there. So, but yeah, we'll get the phone lines and stuff back operating. So.
Yep.
And what time is it? All right, it's 5:36.
5:36.
Anything else you guys want to bring to the show? Talk about? And sorry, Paco, you're gonna have to come back on so we can talk about your subject of you taking on that new business.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I would love to hear other guys who put their feet on the ground to go ahead and do that, like Matt Rainey and some of the other guys that are Marvin. Hear what they have to say when they're tackling some of those stuff as well. And then and maybe I don't know, Chris, if you've ever had to do that remotely or for any of your clients on doing something like that, establishing a process with them to handle some of the remote. Like that's a good point, right? Like if they're one of your clients, how do they set up their help desk calls per se on a remote aspect of it type deal?
We could spend an entire hour-long show having a discussion about that.
Really? Okay.
That is definitely a good topic, and we'll have to one of these weeks we're going to have to just figure out how we're going to get that whole topic discussed.
All right. So let me write this down while we're here. What would be the nature of that topic?
So basically, how can perfect example. This could be actually an entire show, whether it be a Podnutz Daily or just a regular Podnutz call-in show, is if any of us tech companies use a white label support, how do you incorporate them on that type of business aspect? Like how can we include them in that process? So whether it be you're acquiring a new business and you're going to set them up as a help desk, how does that benefit? What things go into that? Or hey, you have a big clientele of residentials, how do you have a standard process of how you want to do things of that nature? On how does Chris running his business try and make sure he can help those tech companies doing that type of deal, like how to incorporate any of that or the stories behind it, things of that nature.
Yep, I have that down. Yeah, anytime you guys have any any suggestions or whatever, absolutely email me. Obviously I read every email, I reply to every email, and I take the information from there, and I'm throwing it into my whole note system so that we can build information for the show and talk about things that people want to hear about. Because obviously, I could talk about myself. Well, actually, Chris could talk about himself all day long. He'd be perfectly happy with that.
Well, you see, because I don't have any original ideas, so
Exactly.
As long as I'm talking about something that I know about, I'm fine.
I just finished up E-Myth Revisited. There's some of the books that I'm reading and listening to a lot of business podcasts, and understanding that I thought I sucked at business, to be honest with you, and I'm understanding that that's an understatement. Is a technician.
I don't think that's accurate, Jeff. I've seen your back end. You're not a horrible business owner. I think that a lot of people in our field are people who have never taken classes or had any kind of formal training or education on how to run a business, but that doesn't make them terrible business owners. It makes them lifelong learners.
Right.
Wow. Did you just take something negative and turn it into a positive?
That's what I do for a living, Jeff.
That's awesome. That's usually it's the negative Nelly, and now I got the positive Larry. I don't know.
We're off the air.
I mean, I agree with
that.
We're
not officially off the air. We're still on the YouTube channel.
Oh no, they all know now.
No, I agree with him. It's one of those where a lot of us may have a good blueprint on how we want to run the business, but it's a lot of the refinements of fundamental business stuff. A buddy of mine who's a VP of sales over at my last job, me and him take really good context stuff, and he suggested this book to me, which has been a big key point. It's called The Purple Cow, and it's supposed to be a really good book on how to transform your business to really stand out from a field of the same similar businesses. So I'm reading that right now. It's a great read right now, and I also read the Little Red Book of Selling. Was a really good one by Jeffery. It's a really good book for a lot of us, especially for technicians in the service industry, because it helps change your mindset of sales. Because it's not really sales. Like, people don't like to be sold, but people love to buy, and it's helping to try and turn that mentality around. So those are two good books that I read. The Little Red Book of Selling. I'm reading this one right now, and they're actually really good.
Yeah, good. And that's a perfect way of looking at sales, is that you're not selling something to somebody, you're allowing them to buy from you. So there's a whole mindset. And if you ever get a chance, another book that I would recommend is How to Make Friends and Influence People.
You mean How to Win Friends and Influence People?
That's the one. Thank you, Jeff. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Who's that by?
That is How to Win Friends.
It's on my bookshelf, and I cannot remember the author.
It is on my Kindle. Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, yeah, there you go.
Dale Carnegie. All right, I'll have to check that out.
Amazing read. I mean, I'm not going to say that it changed the way that I look at sales, because I was doing sales for a very, very long time before I picked up that book, but it did confirm for me that I was going about it the right way.
Right. Okay.
And I know that sounds very conceited, and I'm going to apologize to everybody that heard me say that.
Not coming from you, it doesn't.
That's true. That's true. You have to look at the track record. Yeah, but I mean, it's true. It was something that I had been taught very early on, in before I was a tech, when I just did sales. That entire process was taught to me to begin with. So I was actually really lucky that the mentors that I had, when I was 16. Really pushed me in the right direction, and this book can open anybody's eyes to that mindset of sales. So new business owners are.
I didn't hear what you said. What did you say, Jeff?
I said I learned a lot in 2 years.
Oh. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say this, Jeff, and I'm going to throw this right back in your face. If I were 18 and I'm making a business the way it is right now, I don't think that my life would be anywhere near where it is right now, because by the time I got to my age, I think I'd be, like considering working part-time.
Retire.
No, not retired. I was going to say retired. I'm like, no, retired's not the right word, because that's not going to happen.
Be living comfortably.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I'd own the building that we're in, and I'd probably own a house.
There you go.
Because I mean that's my end goal, right? My end goal for my business is that I'm not paying other people other than the employees and the vendors to run my business. I should own things. So we'll see how that goes though.
Cool. No, it's very cool. All right, guys. Well, I think it's almost 5:45 here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast, and really appreciate you guys coming out and watching the show today. And we will see you 2 weeks from now. And we'll have a lot more information to talk about, I'm sure. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you then. All right, bye.